All right, let's just say it. We're in the middle of a total AI frenzy. And it's got everyone, especially on Wall Street, asking one kind of terrifying question.
I mean, does any of this feel familiar? The crazy hype? The valuations that just seem to defy gravity? That nagging feeling that you're about to miss out on the next big thing? It's like the late 90s all over again, right? But here's the real question. The one that's worth billions, maybe trillions. Is this a real tech revolution? Or are we all just sitting here watching the biggest financial bubble in history inflate right in front of our faces?
Okay, let's talk numbers, because honestly, they're just insane. Take OpenAI, the company that gave us ChatGPT. Since 2015, they've pulled in a staggering $63 billion. And believe me, that's just for starters. Then you've got Anthropic. Get this. They were founded in just 2021, and they've already raised $27 billion. This isn't just some boom, folks. This is a flat-out gold rush.
And this is where things get really wild. Let's put this into perspective, okay? SpaceX, a company that is literally sending rockets into space, it took them 2 decades to raise $12 billion. OpenAI's valuation has already blown past that. The market isn't just optimistic here, it's completely euphoric.
Look, we are just getting started here. If you want to keep up with these massive, seismic shifts in the market, you've really got to be subscribed to CredEdge. It'll help you stay ahead of the curve. Okay, so now let's break down the anatomy of this hype bubble. All right, first let's make the case that this is just a classic textbook hype bubble, because when you really start looking at the details, all the warning signs are there, and they are flashing bright red.
And you don't even have to take my word for it. Listen to this. It's from Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, the face of this whole boom. When he says investors are overexcited, that's not just some casual comment. That's a massive alarm bell. I mean, when the guy at the very center of the frenzy starts telling everyone to calm down, you know something really weird is going on.
And this is the perfect parallel. Back in the 90s, the magic word was .com. You could have a pet food company with no website, no product, slap a .com on the end of its name, and boom, your stock would just soar. Well, today, that magic keyword is AI. It's the same old playbook, right? You just add the buzzword to your company's branding, and suddenly the investment money just pours in. No hard questions asked. We saw this exact thing with .com, we definitely saw it with crypto, and now it is AI's turn.
So why does this work? Well, it's because this whole hype cycle is fueled by a huge knowledge gap. The simple truth is, most investors, most journalists, and yeah, most of us, we don't really understand how AI works any better than the average person understood the internet back in 1998. And that gap, that lack of understanding, makes it super easy for these companies to roll out flashy demos and slick prototypes that hide some pretty big flaws.
So what's actually going on behind the curtain? You know those super impressive viral videos of humanoid robots doing amazing things? Well, turns out some of them are just being controlled by people with remote controls backstage. It's like a puppet show. And a ton of these popular new AI apps, they're not new tech at all. They're just what we in the biz call wrappers. All they do is build a nice, easy-to-use interface on top of a model that already exists like ChatGPT. I'm talking about things like Grammarly or Copy AI. Now, they're useful tools for sure, but are they technological breakthroughs? Not really.
Okay, so with all of that, it seems like an open and shut case, right? It's a bubble. End of story. But this is where the story gets really interesting, and it takes a very sharp turn. Because thinking this is a perfect repeat of the past would be a huge mistake. Let's get into why this time it's actually different.
This is the whole point. The foundations holding up all this hype, they are not the same as before. And that single difference could change everything we think we know about what a bubble is and how it's supposed to pop.
And this really cuts right to the heart of it. The dot-com boom? That was all about startups run by kids in their garages, right? Hobbyists, students, just experimenting. Today, the biggest players in AI are backed by some of the most powerful corporate empires on the planet. And we're talking about the biggest of the big. Microsoft, Google, Amazon. These guys bring forces to the table that just didn't exist in the 90s. They have basically unlimited money. They have global distribution networks that can get a product into the hands of billions of people overnight. And maybe most importantly, they have governments in their corner, because AI is now seen as a geopolitical necessity.
And this brings us to a really important idea, the state-engineered market. See, governments aren't just sitting on the sidelines anymore. They see AI as a strategic technology, something that's tied directly to national power. So what does that mean? It means government contracts, massive subsidies, huge tax breaks,
a kind of artificial life support system that can keep these chosen few giants afloat no matter what the actual market is doing. The playing field isn't level anymore. It's been engineered. So, what happens? What happens when the crazy, irrational hype of a bubble slams into a market that's been specifically engineered to make sure a few players can't lose? Well, you get what I'm calling the coming AI shakeout.
And this shakeout is going to happen in two very clear steps. Step 1, the market will correct itself. It always does. All those flimsy AI-washed startups, the ones who just painted AI on the side of their business, they're going to disappear. But then comes step 2, and this is crucial. The giants, those corporate and state-backed players, they're not just going to survive. They're going to come out the other side and consolidate a level of power we have never seen before.
And for everyone else caught in the middle, the rule is brutally simple. Adapt or get crushed. The best example is Netflix, right? They started out mailing DVDs in red envelopes, but they saw streaming was the future, they pivoted at exactly the right time, and they became a global monster. That's the kind of life or death pivot we are talking about here.
And listen, this isn't some future prediction. It is happening right now, as we speak. Just look at Google's new AI overview feature in search. It gives you the answer directly, so you never have to click on a website. What's the result? Some web publishers are reporting their traffic from Google has dropped by 90%. 90. That is a giant adapting, and it is crushing smaller players in real time. Look, understanding this stuff is absolutely critical right now. If this analysis is hitting home for you and you don't want to be left behind by what's coming next, you need to make sure you're subscribed to CredEdge.
So all of this brings us right back to where we started. We've looked at the hype, we've looked at the powerful forces propping it all up. So what's the final verdict? Is this a bubble, a boom, or something totally new?
On the one hand, you have the possibility that these valuations are completely insane, and we're just waiting for a devastating bubble to burst. But on the other hand, what if these valuations are actually rational? What if we really are standing on the edge of the single greatest economic expansion in human history?
So, is it a bubble? The real answer is yes and no. Yes, there's a bubble component. The hype is off the charts, and a lot of money is chasing it blindly. A correction that will wipe out the weaker players is pretty much inevitable. But also, no, this isn't the dot-com bubble. The underlying structure is completely different. The forces behind this, these corporate empires, the government involvement, and a technology that is genuinely transformative are just way, way stronger than anything we've ever seen before.
So that leaves us with the final massive question. Are we just counting down the seconds until a bubble bursts? Or are we standing at the dawn of a historic economic expansion? The weird thing is, the analysis suggests we're seeing both happen at the exact same time. We have a bubble in the market, for sure, but underneath it all, there's a fundamental technological boom that is absolutely going to change our world forever.
The future isn't something that's coming soon. It's being written right now, in real time. If you want to understand it as it happens, you've got to subscribe to CredEdge. Thanks for tuning in.